Well, our first two exploitive strategies were strategies where there's potential for misinformation because the intent, the goal of the people may not be consistent with spreading accurate information. As in the case of comedic news satire, their goal is to entertain. Or it might be that they don't have the insight into how to go about engaging in the proper methodology to generate accurate and comprehensive reports of events, as is the case with some instances of amateur reporting. They may lack the resources to engage in that activity. They may lack the motivation to engage in that activity. They may not be aware of or have any codified ethical standards that they feel they need to adhere to, and hence may not be constrained in ways that are appropriate to gathering accurate and comprehensive information. So all of these things pose a potential problem, but they're not things that are necessarily problems. The next three types of exploitive strategies, however, are all strategies where the goal is really to spread false, misleading information. The goal is to convince you of something that isn't true or isn't in your own interest, and so on. And the first of those is counterfeit news. Counterfeit news sources create and disseminate almost always false but sensational news stories. And they do so for the very same reason that currency counterfeiters create fake money. They do so for profit. They're looking to get ad revenue. They're looking to get money by misleading people through these sensational news stories. So counterfeit news creators deliberately deceive, and they do so in order to make money from advertising revenue that their articles can create. Practitioners of counterfeit news stories adhere to almost no journalistic practices. They don't intend to present true accounts, and they rarely engage in any fact-checking procedures. In fact, it's antithetical to what they intend to do. Now, since there's been a great deal of reporting on this, for instance, by this individual, Caitlin Dooley, I'm going to go ahead and switch to a video from the Washington Post. The URL is below, where Ms. Dewey talks about counterfeit news stories for us.
So it's interesting, these people actually make money very similarly to how we in the legitimate mainstream media make money. They, at least on our websites, right? So they have display advertising running on their websites, and they get a little portion of money, maybe a couple cents, for every person who visits that page. So what they want to do is create articles that are so outrageous and will really go viral and will drive a lot of people to that page, so they get the advertising money. And Facebook is their main vehicle for doing this. Facebook is the largest referral of traffic to news sites of any kind. So that's essentially their business model. It's a combination of Google ad technology and then Facebook to get those stories out there.
So here we have a picture of Paul Horner. He's the counterfeit news creator who created the story about people being paid to protest at Trump rallies. And in commenting on that story and other bits of news that he'd done, he says, honestly, people are definitely dumber. They just keep passing stuff around. Nobody fact checks anything anymore. I mean, that's how Trump got elected. He just said whatever he wanted, and people believed everything. And when the things he said turned out not to be true, people didn't care because they'd already accepted it. It's real scary. I've never seen anything like it. So Horner creates this news and is surprised by the ease with which he can pass it off, not just to make money, but to actually get people to accept it. And even when it's discredited, not to care about it being discredited. And this is the real danger with counterfeit news. In general, counterfeit news people don't have a particular axe to grind. They're just out to make money. But in doing so, they can create these distorted, false stories about the nature of immigration, climate change, the economy, etc. And these stories have a life of their own. So Horner's story gets shared and tweeted around, and before he knows it, this huge number of people have accepted it. Not all of them have even visited his faux website.